Hello. Hello. Before we begin, I have this slide for you. You can scan it with your phone, the QR code, or you can enter in the shortened link at the bottom, and that's going to give you access to the presentation. It'll go to a Google folder, and then you should have the ability to follow along, etc. Just wanted to give that as a nice reference point. Let's begin. So, today I'm talking about the NFT's utility. We're talking about yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So going to give a high-level overview, kind of talk about what's going on today, and then segueing in for possibilities with the NFT in the future. And my name is Jamie Steinberg. I'm DevRel at Reservoir. Reservoir is NFT infrastructure, so APIs, SDKs, that sort of thing. I'm also an active SheFi participant. I'm a city lead for the city of Chicago. And then I am also an active Boys Club member. If you'd like, but no pressure, you're welcome to follow me on some socials. I'm most active on Warpcast, and my handle is Chicago. And secondary, if you'd like to reach out to me on Twitter, my account is JamieChicago312. All right, so let's get into it. You might have some questions as the presentation goes on, and I want to make sure I answer those questions. So we have a QR code that you can scan, another QR code, or you can access the shortened link up top, and that will send you to a form, and that form will submit a question to me, and I will make sure to answer you either later today in this presentation or async through email within the next 1 to 2 weeks. Appreciate your patience. Now, going over what we're talking about today is 3 sections. We're going to have that brief history, current landscape, and the future utility, all NFT related. So let's start with a brief history. Some of you might be very familiar, some of you might not be as familiar. So this is kind of just to bring us all up to speed. The first NFT that was ever minted was in 2014. And it was on Namecoin blockchain. And I realized that I did not define what an NFT was. So let me rewind that back. An NFT is a non-fungible token. In this case, it is a token that does not have another one that is the same. So that is what an NFT is, in case there's anybody that doesn't know, because I know some people are watching online. All right, so after the first NFT was minted in 2014, not a ton of things going on, to be honest. And then 2015, as we all know and love, Ethereum launched in July. Kudos. Fast forwarding to 2017, CryptoPunks. So this is not the ERC 721 that we all know. It was actually a modified ERC 20 contract. And the way that I think about it is like the first real NFT collection that people started minting, buying, selling, all that stuff. That was introduced in June. And then following that, there was something called CryptoCats, and then CryptoKitties. So CryptoKitties, if you were around, if you were trading, if you were minting, you probably were like, oh my God, gas fees are really high now, thanks to CryptoKitties. Now, CryptoKitties, thanks to the high gas costs, also created other blockchains. So Flow, if you know Flow, that was to offset the high gas fees. And as we move on to 2018, we started to see a massive growth in the NFT industry, just in general, just tons of different projects, not all related to like PFPs, but gaming, art, all sorts of ventures. And that is also when the ERC 1155 was introduced. So the ERC 721, which is like a CryptoKitty, that's when it was introduced around then, is a non-fungible token. So each one is unique and cannot be replicated. The ERC 1155 is a semi-fungible, so you can have multiple of the one token. Now, moving on to 2020, as we flash back and/or prefer not to go there, we were all in lockdown, and NFTs kind of exploded. Everyone was online all the time. Everyone was connected. Beeple sold for $69 million at Christie's auction house. And this is when the bubble started to form, leading into the huge NFT boom that we saw. Record sales, record minting, just tons of volume going through. So that's the brief history. The key takeaways to keep in mind are the technology scaled to accommodate the NFT. That does not mean that the technology was for the NFT to get better, but technology as a whole scaled in terms of the Web3 space, and that has really helped the NFT to be better and easier used across all spaces. NFTs are also more than profile pictures, so that's PFP if you did not know. And now we see them in all sorts of different things besides profile pictures. We see them in other things that we will get into in a moment, but some of them are like phygital things. Some of them are memberships, different things like that. And then NFTs have a value beyond monetary. This is more of an anecdotal than a factual. But for me personally, my NFTs, I don't just mint any NFT, and they have a lot of value to me. I like keeping them and I like having them, and it's a memento that I don't have to worry about cluttering the closet. We're going to move on to the next section, and the next section is NFT's current landscape. So let's talk about what's going on with NFTs right now. There's a few things that are happening that I'm going to go over. There are many more things that are going to go over. I hope this inspires you to search about other utilities that I did not cover or go deeper in the ones that I am. So we're going to go over real-world assets, also known as RWAs, probably heard that a bunch, token gating, infrastructure, and also gaming. So real-world assets is probably a better term than phygital, which is physical digital. Real-world assets in this case that we're going to go over is fine art, collectible cards, watches, and also real estate. There are other uses for real-world assets, but they're able to be traded just like any other NFT. And we're going to highlight a few companies that I think are doing really meaningful work in the space. So the first one is Courtyard. Courtyard's awesome because they are allowing you to take your Pokemon cards and trading them digitally versus meeting up at the bookstore as we did as children. So what happens is you send off your cards, they get verified. It doesn't have to be Pokemon cards. It can be baseball cards, other collectible cards. They verify them and they put them in a vault. So now they are safe from fire, smoke, and water damage. And then they mint an NFT. From the NFT, you can trade it. You can list it. You can give it to a friend. Whoever owns the NFT owns the physical item and can withdraw it if they want. I think it's a great way to alleviate some of the friction points that something like eBay in terms of selling your cards. The next one that I'm going to go over is watches. So watches are providing end-to-end tracking and trading ecosystem for luxury watches. So it's very similar. You can see there's a trend. It's very similar to how Courtyard is minting NFTs for cards. Watches is minting NFTs for watches, which are appraised and then locked away and kept safe. So you can trade and swap them. Whoever holds the NFT owns the watch. Masterworks, moving on to the next, is related to fine art. This is more of fractional art owning. So it's separating the piece of art into multiple shares, and you can own one of those shares. The idea is democratizing investing in fine art. And then also Fabrica. So what Fabrica is doing is similar to what Roofstock is doing, which is related to making NFTs to represent land or real estate. And then from there, you can actively trade them. It allows you to do it a lot faster than going through traditional routes to purchase real estate. The next one that I'm going to talk over is token gating. All of you have actually participated in token gating to attend ETHDenver, and that is with the NFT in your token proof, which I will go over in a little bit. But what token gating comes down to is it allows only people with the token to attend an event or possibly to access a document or a membership, different things of that nature, airline, mileage memberships, things like that. And in the case of events, basically people who have the NFT can go. They're approved, they're pre-vetted, and you know that they can attend. People who don't attend, people who don't have the NFT, they might be waitlisted, they gotta wait at the door, different things like that. And I'll go over some companies that are doing some cool things related to this. The other thing that I mentioned is documentation. So I know that when you're in a Google Doc, you wanna share it to people, you have to put in their email, or maybe it's like domain or different things like that. It would be a lot easier if you could say, anybody who holds this NFT can access this document. And I think it really streamlines, especially because the cost of NFTs and gas and different things like that have come down. So these are some companies that are doing some awesome work in relation to token gating. One of them is Charmverse. So if you're familiar with Notion, Charmverse is like Notion, but with NFTs. So you can have the documents only accessible by people who hold that NFT. Another one is events. So I've been using this. You might have seen this around, especially if you're on Warpcast. But it allows people with NFTs to RSVP for an event and be auto-approved, or only people with the NFT can attend the event. You can't even be waitlisted without it. And it's kind of like Facebook events, but on-chain. And you can even do more detailed requirements, like you need Ethereum in your wallet, things like that. The final one is the one that we've all participated in as attendees of ETHDenver, and that's token proof. They also work with other events, so SheFi also has token proof, but you've kind of already gone through the process if you're here. But it's the same concept. It's token gating of an event. Now, I want to talk a little bit about infrastructure. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about besides the NFT utility is kind of the inner workings behind that and what allows us to be able to use NFTs in more unique ways than we have in the past. And so originally, it's a pretty clunky experience. You have to be able to spin up a wallet, you have to keep that passphrase secret, you have to get funds there, you might need to give them your social security number, all sorts of things, and then bridging, it's difficult because you gotta sign it, you gotta lock it up, you gotta wait at the end, and then minting is probably actually the easiest part because you've already done all the steps in order to get the funds to mint something. But things are changing now. One of the great things is we now have account abstraction. So you can sign up and get a wallet with an email or a phone number, and there's less security involved of you having to remember these words or these phrases in order to keep it safe. The other thing is like on-ramping funds is easier than it's ever been. And you're able to do it with a credit card. They don't need your first child or any other information like they used to. And then finally, bridging. Bridging's also become a lot easier. It's become more intent-based. So users can say that they want something and then just sign once and then get it at the end. And it can be instantly. It can be within seconds versus possibly waiting up to 7 days for depending on the bridge. And then finally, minting. If the minting is utilizing something bridging behind the scenes, then that allows users to skip bridging entirely. So there are some companies that are doing some cool stuff with this and making it easier for users to purchase NFTs and get them in their wallet ASAP. One company is Privy. Privy is allowing users to use their email. I think it's the easiest way to onboard people into Web3. People are always talking about how difficult it is, and they have unlocked it. They've made it easy. They're also partnering, to mention Courtyard. They're also partnering with Courtyard, so if you use Courtyard, you've probably already used Privy. Another thing in terms of on-ramping funds would be Crossmint. Crossmint is a credit card payment in order to get the NFT. It's also easy. You just put in your credit card and it mints. Relay allows users to bridge funds instantly, 1 to 10 seconds, from ETH to L2, L2 to L2. And it's also cheap, up to 70% gas savings, which I think is great, especially when you're buying an NFT that's not super expensive. Why would you pay gas 3 times the cost of the NFT? And then finally, Zora. Zora is actually using Relay on the back side in order to allow users to bring any funds that they have and mint seamlessly to another NFT that's on another chain. If anything, they've abstracted the chains so that you don't even have to worry about where are my funds, what chain is the NFT on. It's just seamless, and it's all about, I want this NFT and I want it now. Boom, it's done. So moving on, to the next section is gaming. And with gaming, we have proof of play. And one of the reasons why I've brought them up today is with their Pirate Nation game, which is an RPG-style game, is because they are using an L3. So we have layer 1 Ethereum, expensive gas. We have L2s that roll up onto Ethereum, and L2s are cheaper. We have L2s so that it is easier to do on-chain transactions, but there's still a cost. And if you're playing video games, you know that there's a lot of different possibilities of transactions to occur if it was on a blockchain, and all those transactions would cost money. But if we built an L3, now we've reduced the cost even further. And I think that's what's really exciting, because it's going to allow people to be able to do an on-chain game without breaking the bank. It's going to be very seamless, and I think that's important if we want to get blockchain into gaming, which I think we do. The next part is Zed-Run. So this is a kind of a different style gaming. There's also gaming video games, but there's also gaming betting. And this relates to horse racing, and I tried it out. It's pretty cool. So you're able to see horses race across. You're able to get different attributes for your horses to power them up, different things like that. And it's entirely on-chain, and it's also browser-based. So I think it's a really unique way of using NFTs, because each horse is an NFT. And then they have attributes on top of them, race faster, et cetera. And then finally, the last company that I'm mentioning is Horizon. So the other two that I mentioned are game-specific. Horizon does have a game. They have Skyweaver, which is a trading card game. But I think what's really cool about Horizon is they also have a platform for developers to get their game into Web3, which I think is important, because it needs to be plug-and-play functionality and if we want wide adoption. And that is where we stand today in the NFT world. As I said, I didn't go over everything that's going on, but I went over a lot of things. Finally, the future of NFTs. So this is what I'm seeing, and this is what I think is really important in the space. We have automated distribution. So that means users can list their NFTs, and then boom, they're across the ecosystem. They don't have to worry about trying to find the buyer. The buyer will just be able to access it no matter what platform they're on. The next one is creator royalties. I know that there's been a lot of controversy. It's very polarizing. Are we paying them? Are we not paying them? I think that creators are fighting back, and I think that we will see a way in order to enforce it, which I'll get to a little bit more in a second. And then finally, intent-based. So intent-based is related to the user not necessarily doing every single transaction needed, but the user is saying, I want this done, and a solver behind the scenes is doing all of those transactions. So automatic distribution. So at Reservoir, we have a order book where other companies build on top. And when you submit the order, it automatically gets distributed. So you have instant liquidity and instant buyers. For example, OpenSea Pro, Magic Eden, all the orders are going there. Going to creator royalties, Magic Eden just launched their Ethereum market, and they have a creator alliance with hundreds of different creators. And what they're doing is they're using something called payment processor to block orders that don't have royalties. And this is the way that creators are going to be able to get their royalties, by blocking sales on other platforms that are not honoring the royalties. And then the last thing is intent-based. So I have Warpcast up here. If you're not familiar, there's something called Warps. It's very much like miles, that you get at an airline, and you can redeem those for a flight. But in this case, you can redeem them for an NFT. You can mint them. And it's really cool because you don't have to think about transferring funds or what chain or different things. It's all abstracting it. And Warpcast is doing all the solving behind the scenes in order to get it to your wallet. So that's what I think things are moving towards. I want to thank you for coming for today. I do have the QR code that you can scan, as well as the link, and this is going to the questions. The question page also has a link to the presentation if you would like to review it. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for attending my talk about the NFT's utility of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. My name is Jamie. I'm DevRel at Reservoir, and if you'd like, you can come over here if you have any questions that you would like to ask in person. Thank you again.